Youth Biolab Jeunesse.
Hi, I'm Steve.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Anjelica.
We're from the Youth Biolab at the Albertson Research Center at St. Boniface Hospital. We all know the job of the hospital is to treat patients. Here at the Research Center, our job is to study disease. If we ever want to cure a disease, we have to understand it first.
When you think of scientists studying disease, you probably think first of things like cancer or more recently, COVID-19. We don't study either of those here. But there are research scientists over at the National Microbiology Lab who are studying infectious diseases like the flu or COVID-19 or Ebola, where they have special equipment that can protect them from the germs that they're working with. There are also groups of cancer scientists working over at Cancer Care Manitoba in Health Sciences Centre, and it's their job to study cancer. We like to keep scientists together so that they can work as a team to come up with cures or treatments for these diseases that we see.
At the Albertson Research Center, we have three big interests. On our fourth floor, we have the Division of Neurodegenerative Disorders. This is where we study diseases that affect the brain and nervous system, just like Alzheimer's disease and type 2 diabetes nerve damage. On our third floor, we have the Institute of Cardiovascular Sciences. This is where we study diseases that affect the heart and cardiovascular system. On our second floor, we have the Canadian Centre for Agri-Food Research in Health and Medicine, and this is where we study food. They research foods that are really good for us, some that might be bad for us, and some that might be so good that they act like medicine.
Our lab, the Youth Biolab, was created so that we can share some of the things that we do here in the Research Center with you. And hopefully we can help you learn a little bit more about how medical science works and understand a little bit more of the science of your own health.
No matter where you are, you're surrounded by living things. You can see other people, pets, and bugs, but did you know that there are super small living things that you can't see with your bare eye? You might have heard of them before as germs. Scientists call these germs microorganisms. Micro means very small, which makes sense. They're so small we need a microscope to see them. An organism means living thing. Just like every living thing, microorganisms need food, water, and sometimes warmth or shelter. When we say germs, we're usually talking about the different kinds of microorganisms that can make us sick. When we get sick from germs, doctors call our sickness an infectious disease. These illnesses are contagious, meaning you could catch the germs from a sick person or give them to someone else if you're sick. Today, we want to talk about germs and show you some of the ways scientists learn about germs around us. You might already know some illnesses caused by germs, like a cold or flu, maybe an ear infection, or when you get a cut and it gets red and swollen. These happen when germs get inside of us and start to cause damage. There are many different types of microorganisms we encounter every day. Most of them are harmless, some even help us stay healthy, but some can make us sick. If germs are all around us all day, every day, why are we not sick all of the time? Our bodies have natural protective systems from germs. These protective systems are in place to trap and destroy these germs. Our skin is a really cool self-healing armor to germs. It's hard for germs to penetrate through our skin and get inside of our body. Sometimes when we get a cut, germs can get inside and make your cut red and swollen. We have tears in our eyes, mucus in our nose, and saliva in our mouth. These trap and kill germs before they even have a chance to get inside of our body and make us sick. What happens if germs do get into our body through a cut in our skin or overgrow in the nose or throat where they shouldn't be? Well, because germs have always been around us, we have special cells in our body called white blood cells. They fight off germy invaders. They're very good at recognizing that germs are different from our cells and destroy them. They even remember the germs that we've seen before and hunt them quicker. Sometimes when facing a new type of germ, the fight might take a little longer than you might expect, and you might experience some symptoms like an infection, runny nose, sneezing, sore throat and coughing, and maybe even a fever or sore muscles. Our body can usually fight off germs eventually, but for some bad infections, people might need some special medications that help and kill off specific types of germs. Doctors and scientists have ways to figure out what kind of germs are making people sick so they can use the right medicine to treat them. So what kind of tiny living things are all around us? One of the most common microorganisms that we contact as humans is bacteria. Bacteria are super small microorganisms. They vary in size, but they're about 10 times smaller than most of your cells. Humans are made of trillions of cells, but bacteria live as just one single cell. But they can still eat, reproduce to make more bacteria, and they move around. Bacteria live in the widest range of environments on the planet. They can survive in some of the hottest and coldest temperatures, like in hot springs and in the snow. Most bacteria like warm environments where they can get food and moisture, like in the soil, the ocean, and even in your body. There are more than 10,000 types of bacteria that like living on people. Some scientists think that there are more bacterial cells in and on your body than there are your own cells. Most bacteria living on us are harmless. Some are good for you, like the lactobacillus bacteria that ferment foods like yogurt, kimchi, or sauerkraut, or drinks like kombucha or kefir. These bacteria like to live in your gut and help you digest food. Have you ever had a super sore throat, so sore that you couldn't swallow or even turn your head? This might have been strep throat. This is caused by a common bacteria called streptococcus. These bacteria are bad for us. They make our throats red and itchy. When bacteria get in our throats, they damage tissues, and that's what we call an infection. How do you get this infection? Well, you probably got it from someone else. Strep throat bacteria is highly contagious. If you've ever had this, you might have had to stay home to make sure you got better and not make anyone else sick. Now let's move on to viruses. Viruses are super small. They're about 10 times smaller than bacteria. Unlike bacteria, viruses can't live everywhere. For viruses to survive and grow, they need to get inside of host cells. Some viruses affect plants, some affect animals, and some even affect bacteria. When humans get infected, viruses break into the cells of our body and use our cells to make more viruses. Eventually, when there are enough viruses in our body, they can make us feel sick. Have you ever had the flu or maybe chicken pox? Or maybe you've been hearing a lot about COVID-19. These are all diseases caused by viruses. These examples are highly contagious viruses, so they're easy to catch or give to others if you're sick, but not all viruses are as contagious or as bad for humans. Fungi are really cool. I bet all of you know what mushrooms are, but did you know mushrooms are a type of fungus? Mushrooms are an example of good fungi because they give you nutrients and they're very tasty to eat. Other than mushrooms, you've probably heard of things like mold or maybe even yeast. These are all different types of fungi too. Eating moldy bread won't make you super sick like bacteria and viruses do, but it's kind of gross and some people might have allergies to mold, so it's probably a better idea to not eat your moldy lunch. We have some varieties of fungi living on and around us. A lot of the fungi that grow in us are related to yeast or come from things that we're in contact with in nature, like soil and plants. Most fungi are not dangerous. They live alongside bacteria on your body, but sometimes they can overgrow and infect humans. Toenail fungus and athlete's foot are common fungal foot infections that happen to people. Both fungi love warm environments, so they love to grow underneath your toenails and in between your toes. Foot fungi are more annoying than they are harmful. They can turn your nail yellow and might even cause your nail to fall off. If someone has an infection and we want to find out what germs are around, scientists might look at them under a microscope or run some tests or even try to grow those germs on a petri plate and see what they look like. How do we find and grow germs? Well, if germs are all around us, it's really easy to find germs. If you've ever had strep throat, the doctor might have swabbed your throat to make sure it was in fact streptococcus that was growing inside of you. Germs like growing on people, so if we want to grow germs in the lab, we need to recreate the conditions of a nice, warm, living body. We have these petri plates that are full of yummy nutrients that germs love to eat. We can collect germs with a sterile cotton swab and smear them on the nutrient plate and see some of the germs that grow. First, we're going to swab our eyes, nose, mouth, and face. Even though none of us are sick, there are always some germs or bacteria on those spots. After we swab the plates, we're going to keep them warm like a nice living body. So we keep them in an incubator at body temperature overnight, and we can check on them tomorrow. We have a few different kinds of petri plates. One has a regular food called agar and can grow a wide variety of bacteria or even fungi. Remember that viruses need to infect host cells to live, so they won't grow on the agar. Sometimes scientists use plates with special ingredients that only let certain types of bacteria grow or change color of the bacteria to help identify what kinds of bacteria we have. I'll try to show you some of the examples when we see what grows. When we swabbed our skin, we picked up individual bacteria, maybe different kinds. Then we gave them food, water, and warmth, so they grew. When bacteria grow, they don't just get bigger and bigger. They divide, so 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, and so on. They divide so fast overnight in the warm incubator until they become a pile of millions of bacterial cells that we can now see with our bare eye. We call these colonies. Each colony on our plate started off as a single germ. We can see a lot of different stuff growing on our plates. Microbiologists are really good at figuring out what kinds of germs are growing by looking at the shape, color, and size of the colonies. These plates show a wide variety of bacteria. Most are white or creamy in color, but sometimes we see yellow, orange, pale green, or even pink and blue bacteria. Bacteria which grow and divide quickly make bigger colonies, but the slow-growing bacteria will make smaller colonies. Even the shape of the colony gives some clue to microbiologists about the type of bacteria. You might be able to see that when you look down on the colonies, some are in the shape of a nice smooth circle, some have lumpy irregular edges, and some have filamentous edges. These filamentous colonies could be bacteria, but they could also be fungi, who also like the agar food and make these stringy filamentous looking colonies. You might not be able to see this from your angle, but the colonies grow up out of the agar like little bumps. Some are shaped like a fried egg, some are flat on the top, and some are shaped like a mountain. These colonies can even have different textures. Some are mucousy like snot, some are velvety, and some are even smooth. We know that the human body can host thousands of different types of bacteria. Some types like to live where it's very warm and humid, like the mouth, while different kinds might prefer the nose or the eyes. It's normal to see different mixes of bacteria from different spots on one person, but even the same body part on different people might have wildly different mixes of bacteria. The mix of bacteria you carry around on you is said to be as unique as a fingerprint, meaning no one else's bacteria are just like yours. If we look at these agar plates, we can see how different the bacteria are between Steve, Megan, and I. We can also see that eye, nose, mouth, and skin sections look different from one another, even for the same person. We use 2 special types of agar. These plates are red because they have red blood cells mixed in with the agar. It's a very nutrient-rich food and can grow a wide variety of bacteria, but scientists use it to detect if there are harmful bacteria that can actually destroy your red blood cells. You can see a lot of bacteria growing on our samples, but if they were blood cell destroying types, we would see a clear or orange circle around the colonies. We don't see this, so we know our bacteria are at least safe. The last plates we used really helped us see the variety of different bacteria in our samples. These chrome agar plates actually change the different kinds of bacteria different colors. The color alone isn't enough to know for sure what type they are, but some common bacteria will grow in cream-colored, others will be light pink or purple, and there are even some that turn turquoise or dark blue. Can you see now how different the bacteria are between different people and our different body parts? Even though we don't get viruses growing in these plates, we kind of get an idea of how quickly they might grow and on which surfaces they might be on. We could have thousands to millions of viruses growing inside of us overnight if they get into our bodies. Sometimes the colonies of different germs can look the same, so microbiologists have to take a small sample and take a closer look underneath the microscope. If we want to take a closer look, we need to take a sample of the bacteria with a sterile loop and rub them on this special dye to help us see them. Because we don't know if the bacteria from our samples are super safe, we'll use some E. coli lab bacteria that we're familiar with and know won't make us sick. Let's use one of the hairs from my head as a reference point to help understand how small E. coli actually are. We're looking through the microscope at 400 times. So we're seeing my hair 400 times bigger than we would see with our bare eye. My hair is about 50 micrometers in width. What is a micrometer? It's 1,000th of a millimeter. So that's taking your ruler, looking at 1 millimeter, and then dividing that into 1,000 pieces. So think about how small a micrometer is. E. coli are about 3 micrometers in length and 1 in width. So we would have to tape 1,000 E. coli side by side to fit in your 1 millimeter of the ruler. Or we could tape 50 E. coli side by side and they would all fit along the width of my hair. The different size and shape of the individual bacteria cells also give clues to scientists about what kind they are. Bacteria come in rod shapes like the E. coli we sampled, round shapes, and sometimes they're even spiral in shape. If one of the germs from these body samples was a type that caused infectious disease, scientists might want to understand how those germs can spread to other people. We can run some tests to show how we spread our germs in the environment and some things we can do to stop or at least limit their spread. We can pick up germs from our environment in many different ways. Remember, there are microorganisms or germs all around us. People sometimes catch infectious diseases from food or water that are contaminated with germs, or even from contact with animals, including other people, that are carrying those germs. Anytime people are in contact, from a handshake, hugging or kissing, sharing food or a drink, they might also be sharing their germs. If someone who is sick coughs or sneezes, some of their germs get carried into little droplets in the air where others might breathe them in or pick them up on surfaces. Some germs can live on surfaces for a very long time. Now let's see what kind of surfaces germs are living on and test out some of the ways to stop the spread of germs. Remember that germs like growing on us because we're warm and moist, and there's even nutrients around for them on our skin and other body parts to eat. So things we touch often might be some good places to look for germs. We can collect germs from surfaces the same way we collect germs from our faces. We will use a damp cotton swab to pick up germs from some different objects and see what grows on the Petri plates. We chose some objects that we touch quite a lot or that we thought might be kind of dirty. We chose my and Megan's cell phones, our school bags, my shoe, Steve's water bottle, our computer keyboard, and our lab door handle. We can see that there are a lot of germs living on these frequently touched objects. Our doorknobs are touched often. We walk on a lot of dirty surfaces with our shoes. We type on our keyboards and use our phones every day. We were actually really surprised at how clean our phones really were. We carry them around everywhere, and they touch a lot of different surfaces, including our unclean hands and faces. When people design products that are touched often, they sometimes use materials or special coatings that germs don't like to live on. A lot of phone screens have an oil repellent coating that keeps fingerprints and other smudges off of the screen. We carry around our school bags every day, but can you see the difference in the amount of germs on a fabric bag and a leather bag? This last plate is a little crazy to see, but we're not surprised with our results. Our water bottles are full of germs. Germs need water to survive, so it makes sense that germs like to live in the bottle. But the other thing is, we also put our mouths on our water bottles. We have a lot of bacteria in our mouths naturally, so it only makes sense that some of the bacteria from our mouth get transferred to our water bottles. We went back and sanitized all of those surfaces and re-swabbed them to see if we got rid of any germs. Sanitizers are cleaning chemicals we use to get rid of germs, and they're actually really good at their job. We can see that on all of these plates, even the really germy ones, we've gotten rid of most or even all of the germs living on those surfaces. This is why it's super important to clean and sanitize things you use often. Now let's see what proper hand washing can do for our health. We've been touching a lot of stuff today. Our hands must be full of germs. Scientists say a good way to get rid of germs is to wash your hands often. Let's see what kind of germs are on our dirty hands. We're going to make sure to wash our hands properly by cleaning every inch of our hand. This should take about 20 seconds of hand washing. It's about the same time as it takes to sing happy birthday. Now let's see how many germs we were able to get rid of by simply washing our hands. As we can clearly see, germs love to live on our skin. Megan and my hands are nice and moist, and we have nutrients on our skin, so it's a really great place for germs to live. There are normally many different types of bacteria that live on our hands. They're there all the time and they don't make us sick, but when we go to the grocery store and push a cart that everyone has touched, or open a door that's been touched by hundreds of different people, you're able to pick up different bacteria that isn't your own. And it may be bacteria that can make you sick. We can't trust strangers to not cough or sneeze in their hand and then touch doorknobs we might touch, so to protect ourselves, we wash our hands. We can see that after we wash our hands, we get rid of the majority of the bacteria. The bacteria that were left over are hopefully the ones that are on our hands normally, and not ones we picked up from strangers. Hand washing is a quick and easy way to get rid of germs. The soap that we use kills the bacteria, and by rubbing our hands together, we're destroying more germ cells. When we dry our hands with paper towel, we're wiping off even more germ cells. So washing your hands is an easy way to get rid of the germs on your hands and prevent the spread of germs. We all do a quick and lazy hand wash once in a while, but when we don't wash our hands properly, we aren't getting all of the germs off. We have this special powder that isn't visible in regular light, just like we can't see germs. We'll see how many germs we have left over when we only do a quick hand wash. Yikes, we can see that I still have a ton of germs left over. We can see that a quick hand washing is not good enough to get rid of all of the germs. Let's wash our hands properly for 20 seconds and we'll see if we can get rid of all of those pesky germs. To wash your hands properly, we have to wet our hands, apply some soap, and rub all of the surfaces of our hands during our 20-second hand wash. First, we're going to rub our palms together. Then we're going to lace our fingers together with our right hand on top, and then do the same with our left hand on top. We then interlock our fingers to wash the backs of our fingers, and then we move on to our thumbs. Next, we rub the tops of our fingers into our hand to get underneath the nails and do the same on the other hand. We then rinse off the soap with water and dry our hands properly with paper towel. Let's put my hand washing to the test. Washing our hands properly for 20 seconds got rid of all of the germs. This shows that proper hand washing is a really good and easy way to prevent the spread of germs. Today, we're going to test out one last way to prevent the spread of germs. We're going to see if it's actually important to cover your coughs and sneezes. First, we're going to start off with a sneeze and see how far germs can travel. The germs from my sneeze were able to travel 3 meters, but on average, people's sneezes can travel up to 10 whole meters. Next, we're going to move on to our cough and see how far the germs in our cough can travel. My cough was only able to travel a little less than a meter, but on average, people's coughs can travel up to 8 whole meters. Scientists say that the droplets in the air from your sneezes and coughs can stay in the air for up to 10 minutes. And that's why it is super important to cover your coughs and sneezes. Through all of our fun activities today, we have learned that germs are all around us. They're on the surfaces we touch and all over our bodies. Remember, some germs are harmless, some are good for you, but some are really bad for you. This is why it's super important to stay healthy and do your part to prevent the spread of germs. You can help prevent the spread of germs by washing your hands properly and frequently, covering your sneezes and coughs, avoid contact with people that are sick, clean and disinfect frequently touched objects, staying at home when you feel sick, and avoiding touching your mouth, nose, and eyes. Thanks for tuning in to Healthy Curiosity. Stay curious. Make sure to click like and subscribe for more videos and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. To support the Youth Biolab's ongoing programming and expansion plans, please contact St. Boniface Hospital Foundation at stbhf.ca.